This is the Burlington City Council meeting, number 11, June 1st, 2020, 5:30. Thomas J. Smith, Council Chambers. Our number for a call-in and public access is, if you're streaming, you can see it. If you're listening, the number is 646-749-3122. And the meeting number is 791-645-725. Would you all please stand and join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kathleen, roll call when you're ready.
Do you want me to take Robert?
Yeah. That'd be great. Here.
Kreitzer, Greg Murray,
Here.
Moffitt,
Here.
Raker.
Here. All right. First up on the agenda, we have a proclamation. Mayor Pro Tem.
I guess that's me. Apologize, I forgot my reader glasses, so I'm going to read it off the computer. Whereas the state of Texas made Juneteenth the first official African-American holiday in the United States in 1978, and whereas Governor Tom Vilsack signed legislation establishing Juneteenth as a state holiday in Iowa April 11th, 2002, and whereas Juneteenth is the oldest African-American holiday observance, and whereas Juneteenth is synonymous with freedom and is observed nationally by many, and whereas the Burlington, Iowa brand of the NAACP is sponsoring the Juneteenth celebration in Burlington on Saturday, June 20th, 2020, and whereas the theme for Juneteenth celebration this year is Carry the Torch to Light the Future. And now, therefore, we, the City Council of Burlington, Iowa, do hereby proclaim Saturday, June 20th, 2020, as Juneteenth Day in Burlington. And we ask all of the citizens in Burlington to help us celebrate this event. Signed and sealed this first day of June 2020, the Honorable John D. Billups. And this proclamation, since she's not here tonight, goes out to my good friend, Lynn Stenson. So we'll mail this out to her.
Okay. All right. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under Item 1, consent agenda, having been discussed, are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If there is discussion desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and we will consider it separately. On the consent is finances and miscellaneous, minutes of previous minutes, and payroll and city claims. Beer, liquor, wine, and cigarette permits, reports, and bonds. We have some resolutions. First resolution is approving an extension for the 2020-21 interchange of the employee agreement between the City of Burlington, Iowa, and the Burlington Community School District. Number 2 is a resolution approving the extension to the exclusive listing agreement, gross rent lease of available space at the depot, 300 South Main Street with Terrace Real Estate Group. Number 3 is a resolution approving the lease agreement between the City of Burlington and Blau Lofts LLC for parking spaces in the planned city parking lot at the southwest corner of Valley Street and North 5th. Number 4 is a resolution approving the lease agreement between the City of Burlington and Churchill Lofts LLC for parking spaces in the planned city parking lot at the southwest corner of Valley Street and North 5th. Number 5 is a resolution of support for Workforce Housing Tax Credit Program project by Merge Urban Development Group at 424 North 3rd Street. Number 6 is a resolution approving an offer to buy real estate and acceptance for the property located at 700 Valley Street, Burlington, Iowa. Number 7 is a resolution of adopting the personnel manual for non-union employees. Number 8 is a resolution approving an amendment between the CWA Local 7176 and the City of Burlington. Number 9 is a resolution Burlington is essential in the support of fair, direct federal emergency support to reopen and rebuild local American economies. And we're going to set some dates for public hearings. First one would be consideration for sale of property, Lot 2 at Parkview Subdivisions, 707 Shokokon Drive, City of Burlington, Iowa, with conditions. Number 2 is consideration of a permanent encroachment agreement with CMM Co. LC for the encroachment into Market Street right-of-way adjacent to 107 Valley Street, Burlington, Iowa. And number 3 is consideration of a 2020 amendment to the Burlington Urban Revitalization Plan and one appointment to the Library Board of Trustees, Becky Godfrey. We're going to unmute the phones.
We have another caller.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like anything removed from the consent?
Yes, this is Marlon McKee.
Okay, which numbers, Marlon? Which,
That one about the parking lot,
okay,
the $500.
okay, got it. Anything else? That'll be 3 and 4.
No?
Anyone else have anything they'd like to remove from the consent? Council? Hearing none. Can I get a motion?
I motion to approve the listed or the amended items under the consent agenda. 3 and 4.
Second.
When you're ready, Kathleen.
Phillips,
Yes.
Graham Murray,
Yes.
Mopin,
Yes.
Rinker.
Yes. Okay, first up is a hearing statement, the consideration of plans and specifications for the 2020 Fifth Street and Valley Street parking lot project. Mr. McGregor, how are you?
Good evening. The plans and specifications in front of you are for a new parking lot at the southwest corner of Fifth and Valley, currently owned by BNSF. You can see this is just an overhead view drawing of what the parking lot will look like. Creates 91 parking spots. There's a driveway off of Valley and also off of Fifth Street. The function of this parking lot is funded by IDALS, which is Iowa Department of Ag Land Stewardship, for funding to create green storm sewer infrastructure. And so that the centerpiece right there will have what I'll show you in the next image. Will have green infrastructure in the middle that will help deal with storm sewer. There is a crossing in the middle. You can see kind of a different shading of a square. There will be access so people could cross at the middle there. There's also an ADA pedestrian ramp on the north side on Valley Street, where we'll create a crosswalk essentially across Valley Street through the sidewalk that goes through Nancy Nafee Park. There is also a bioretention cell on the south side of the parking lot. It's a little bit different storm sewer function than the center. It doesn't have any real plant life in it, but it handles storm sewer as well. The funding for this source, for this project, we have $50,000 in IDALS money that came from the green alleyway that didn't happen due to the Tama fire. So the centerpiece will have a similar function and look to the piece that you see off to the left-hand side. It won't be as wide, it'll be a little bit more narrowed, and it'll be a little bit deeper. We won't have as much greenery, there's a lot of ground cover planted in that, but essentially there's a composite of soil a composition of soil that has rock, different sands and soils that help clean the water prior to it hitting the storm line that's inside the bottom of that, and then eventually ties into our Hawkeye storm sewer system. So, but it does bring a water quality element to that, and that's the reason why we have the monies that come with it. So, as I mentioned, the grant dollars, we have the $50,000 of that monies. We have $560,000 planned for this estimated project. The remainder of those funds is monies that we have from the manor sale. And so that makes up the difference. I can answer any questions on it. Kind of breeze through that.
Okay. Jess, you want to unmute, please? Is there anybody online that has any questions about this project?
John, This
Yeah.
is Marlon McKee again.
Yes, sir?
Uh,
Marlon, what's your address?
your cameras must not be working.
They're not, I apologize.
Your cameras must not-
Yeah, they're not, I apologize.
Kind of hard to- Okay.
What, I do need your address though, sir, for the record. Give me your address if you would, please.
1121 South 12th Street, Burlington.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there any questions we can answer for you, as far as you understand it?
Well, is this on where you're gonna be buying it and leasing it to those people, or?
Yes, it's the same lot.
We've already bought it.
We've already bought it. We're putting in the parking lot there, but the lease agreements are a separate issue, and that's what was on the consent. And so those are the items we pulled for us to talk afterwards.
Okay, so that's what I wanna talk about.
Okay, you want to talk about the leases? No questions on the structure?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll do it.
Thanks, Jessica. Council, you have any questions for Mr. McGregor? All right.
No questions. I love the bioretention feature.
All right, well, seeing no questions, can I get a motion?
A motion to close?
Second?
Kathleen?
Phillips,
Yes.
Graham Murray,
Yes.
Mopin,
Yes.
Rinker.
Yes.
Okay, Bill,
Yep.
you got a resolution?
Resolution approving plans and specifications for the 2020 Fifth Street and Valley Street parking lot project.
Second?
Second?
Phillips,
Aye.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
Mopin,
Yes.
Rinker.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next up is an ordinance. Motion for the final adoption of the ordinance amendment to the ordinance number 3220, an ordinance creating the Sunrise West Planned Unit Development, PUD Overlay District, by removing outlot G from Sunrise West PUD. Go through this one more time, Eric,
No-
right?
No changes from the previous two readings, just removing this lot from the Sunrise West PUD so that it can be added to the Beverly Place. The provisions of this stipulate duplex condos, and that's not what the developer is looking to do, so.
Okay. Jessica, please, unmute. Is there anyone online that has any questions about this ordinance amendment? Anyone online has a question about the ordinance amendment for the Sunrise West PUD? Hearing none, council?
Nope.
None? All right, Kathleen, when you're ready, can we vote, please?
I don't think anyone.
Oh, he did introduce it, I'm sorry, that's you,
I
Matt.
was gonna say, you jumped right into
I
it.
did,
like
I
it-
did, I
Like
did.
it happened, and I'm like, wait a
I
minute.
was ready
did you
for
read
Eric,
it?
that's
But-
why I should have
Okay.
introduced him.
Motion for final adoption of an ordinance amendment to ordinance number 3220 and ordinance creating the Sunrise West Planned Unit PUD overlay district by removing outlaw G from the Sunrise West PUD.
Second.
Yes, Jim.
Just a point of clarification on being able to view things. Mediacom is voice only, so, and they're working on it downstairs to see if they can get the camera angle back
Okay.
on. For those who who have the capability, they are certainly encouraged, if they want to be able to see it, you can go to the city's website, and under general government, the council meetings, there is a link to view online. That option, the cameras are, that is something that we push out locally and not through Mediacom. It is still available.
Okay.
So for those who want to be able to see the overheads and have something to go along with the sound, they are certainly encouraged to do that as we go through this meeting.
Thank you, sir. Okay, back to the ordinance, which I ran over the top of. Matt read. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Please, Kathleen.
Phillips,
Aye.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
Mopin,
Yes.
Rinker.
Yes.
Okay, next one.
Your Honor, I have a motion for final adoption of an ordinance rezoning Lot 4 of Swisher subdivision and outlot G of 4th addition to Sunrise West subdivision from R1 single-family residential to R4 multifamily residential with the planned unit development overlay zone Beverly Place PUD as allowed by the zoning code of the city of Burlington, Iowa.
Mr. Tislin. Oh, second.
Second.
This is creating the Beverly Place PUD, which allows for multifamily residential on these lots, primarily Outlot G of Sunrise and Lot 4 Swisher. Looking to do a multifamily development in this area, similar to the Village Cooperative, but on a different scale. There are some of the provisions of the PUD restrict number of units to a maximum of 80 units, requiring a landscape buffer on the west and south sides, pedestrian connection from Cambridge over to Sequoia, and then having the phase plan where the private drive connect the public streets all the way through, so there'll be a through access, so access from the north and south to this development upon initial construction.
Jessica. Is there anyone online that has any questions about this ordinance?
This is Mark Fisher from Myers Construction, representing the applicant. I live at 24 Cascade Terrace, Burlington, Iowa.
Thank you. Do you have any thoughts or concerns, Mark?
Well, I did see, got a glimpse of an overhead. It looked like some of the outlots that are being proposed had been labeled R1. I just wanted some clarification on that. We were originally just going to propose both lots before being subdivided to have the same R4 zoning.
Can you answer that, Eric?
Outlots match what the adjacent zoning is on it, so this would be R2 up here, and this is currently R1, because that's what's to the adjacent to it, so that's what's
Sorry, we're having
proposed.
trouble hearing you.
They're proposed to be the same zoning as the adjacent
Yeah.
lots, so the lot on the north would be R2, and then the lot on the corner would be R1. Those could be changed if there's development brought forward, but tried to match what the adjacent zoning is on those, since there was no plan at this time.
Does
All
that,
right, we're okay with that.
Does
Thank
that-
you
okay,
for that
thanks.
clarification.
all right, thanks, Mark. Is there anybody else online that has a question? Hearing none, council?
No, it's a great project.
Okay, Kathleen, we'll vote when you're ready.
Phillips,
Aye.
Graham Murray,
Yes.
Mopin,
Yes.
Riker.
Yes.
Okay, next up, resolutions.
Your Honor, I have a resolution approving the final plat of the Oak Harbor Farm subdivision.
Need a second?
Second.
This is a one-lot subdivision located on the southwest portion of the city of Burlington. They're looking to subdivide off, I guess, the buildings from the remaining parcels. This large parcel here is primarily farmed, but there are some residents and some outbuildings on this lot here. This red line here is the city limits, so it does cut through the city and county jointly, so this goes through the County Board of Supervisors as well. Based on the lack of any city services to the site, they are looking to bring forward a resolution to sever just this portion that is in the city to make this all a county lot. The remaining farmland would remain in the city, but that's something that will be brought forward for consideration at a future meeting.
Okay,
But right now, it's just consideration of this as creating one lot to be able to sell it.
staff recommends it. Okay. Jessica, would you unmute, please? Is there anyone that has any questions about the resolution for the final plat of Oak Arbor Farm? Online? I don't hear any, council? All right, let's vote, Kathleen.
Phillips,
Aye.
Kreitzer,
Abstain.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
Mopin,
Yes.
Riker.
Yes.
Okay, second resolution?
Your Honor, I have a resolution of support for a workforce housing tax credit program project by Caston Development LLC at 115 North 4th Street.
This
Second.
This came in after a work session, that's why it's on the regular agenda. We did have a similar resolution of support on the that went through the work session for merge for the former PD site. So this is a pretty similar resolution of support. There's no financial commitment for this, but for application for workforce housing tax credit program, they do need a resolution of support from city council. Caston Development is looking to acquire and develop the building at 115 North 4th Street. That's just south of Valley. The I think PQL Lighting has been in that, right across from the Motos building. So they're looking to receive a resolution of support for that. That really helps for redevelopment. That does, if they do receive it, it's a 20% investment tax credit with a maximum cap of investment per unit. Applications are due June 8th. That's why it was put on this city council meeting.
Jessica, when you're ready. Okay, is there anybody online that has a question about this resolution of support for the workforce housing tax credit project? Don't I don't hear any. Council? All right, Kathleen, can we vote when you get a moment?
Phillips.
Aye.
Kreitzer. Aye. Graham Murray.
Aye.
Moffitt.
Yes.
Rinker.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go back to the two items that were removed from the consent. First one is a resolution approving the lease agreement between the City of Burlington and Blau Lofts LLC for parking spaces in the planned city parking lot at the southwest corner of Valley Street and North 5th. Can we discuss them both at the same time, Jim, or no? Yes? Then the number 4 is a resolution, because it's going to be basically the same, approving a lease agreement between the City of Burlington and Churchill Lofts LLC for the parking spaces at the planned city parking lot at southwest corner of Valley Street, North 5th.
So are you introducing that first resolution right now?
Yes.
We need a second.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
I was racing ahead.
Did you want to open it and ask Marlon what his question was?
Yes, please open. Marlene, would you like to ask your question now about those resolutions?
Well, it's been brought up that we're spending $500,000 buying the property, gonna make it into a parking lot. Why are we, instead of turning around and leasing it to those two developments? Why did they not just buy it and do it themselves? I mean, the Tama building bought the old hotel parking garage or Archer Motors building. And so why are these two places buying this parking lot?
It certainly was an option. The developer wasn't going to come to town without something that was on this range. The council took that under consideration 2 years ago when they came forward, passed a resolution of support committing to make best available efforts to get a parking lot constructed for it. As you look at what's happened in other communities, you'll see different combinations done between incentive package, some so that a private developer will do the cost of parking for themselves, others where the city is committing to paying for a portion of parking. And it wasn't something that the council had to do, but it was something that the developer at the time, a couple of years ago, was making as part of a contingent process for doing this redevelopment.
It was prior to us getting here. 'Cause I
It was
don't
prior to
remember.
this existing
Yeah, I was
council,
gonna
but
say,
it
I
was.
don't remember seeing it, but I do remember yeah.
Does that answer your question, Marlon?
Well, they're probably not gonna be up and running for a year, or do we get to use it?
Well, actually, the one apartment complex is nearing completion, and they think they will be using at least part of the lot, August, September.
This is a lease up for September 1 for the
September
first
1, right.
61 lots. The others, we could potentially lease out on a month-to-month basis prior to for the, what is that, the Churchill one on the 31?
Churchill, right.
That's August 1 of the following year. We could do a month-to-month lease on those spots. I don't anticipate there being a high demand for that, but this would lock in the future for their development on those. The overall figures on this, and this part of what the council has to understand that they're committing to on this with 91 spots, $40 a month. It amounts to about 40, I think that was 443,000 a year of annual revenue. And it's set for those rates to go along with whatever the market rates go up every other year. So I don't anticipate we'll be raising parking fees every other year, but we have raised them close to that over the last 6 or 7 years. So as those rates go up, these would go up within this structure too.
Jim, with respect to the developments that they have going on across the street, any idea how much increment they've created in value in those structures?
In what they're doing, correct?
Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
The best estimate that I could do, they're gonna put in, I think the first one was about a $5 million investment for what they were putting on their value for what they're spending. What it will be appraised for, or assessed at, I'm not sure. The best comparable I could give, and was
Burlington.
in the downtown, is the hotel, the former Hotel Burlington. That's assessed right now at $2.5 million. My assumption would be this would be a little bit higher than that because it's new construction or new rehab, but that is some perspective to give for what these two different structures would have for valuation moving forward.
Does that answer your question, Marlon?
Well, it still comes down to the fact that we're spending $500,000, and he's saying $42,000 a year. That's only $420,000 over a 10-year time period, and we're not getting any interest off this money, and it's also taken off the tax roll. If they owned it, then they would have to pay the taxes off. But since we own it, nobody's paying taxes on it.
It hasn't
It's
been,
kind of like we're giving things away.
yeah.
That structure hasn't had much for tax value. Owned by the railroad, it doesn't
Well,
generate, and is a vacant lot that
Yeah.
didn't generate. I do understand, and the council does also need to understand that the point made, this is a 10-year lease with 2 optional 5-year renewal periods. You have a $550,000 investment from the city on this. Over the first 10 years, you have about a $43,000 return, absent increases going into those every other year, that whatever those might be. The optional renewal periods for the second 10 years would be another at least $430,000. And you have a life cycle for a parking lot that's gonna be longer than that 20 years.
Yeah, Marlon, I guess where I'm at on this is, I'm looking at the taxes on 2 buildings that were basically vacant, and the increase in the value of those buildings, so that also figures into this. I think that the Churchill building has been vacant almost the entire time I've lived in town, which has been a
All
long
my
time.
life.
35 years, and then
Lamont Limited.
was in there for a little bit,
And
yeah.
They were running stuff out of that Churchill building.
Yeah, for a period of time, but it's been empty for a while now. And
Yeah, well, it's just, again, we're spending $550,000, and over time, we'll get a tax. That's like, you go back to, and I'm bringing up time way before any of you guys were around, but when when Hunt Carter borrowed $2.8 billion from the city toward Hunt Carter, and then they came back and wanted to pay it, it was $1.8 billion. They wanted to pay it $180,000 over a 10-year time period, but they weren't paying any interest on it. We're not getting the interest off of this land. Even if it doesn't have great value, it must have, because we're paying $550,000 for it. So it's just, I see tax dollars kind of going to help somebody out besides the citizens for us.
Yeah, Marlon, one thing, and this is Matt Rinker speaking, I was gonna say, one thing you have to keep in mind is the amount of revenue generated by the investment in the 2 structures that were previously vacant. So I think this council didn't make that decision, but if it was brought forward to us today, we'd have to take that information into account when we decide whether or not to invest in a parking lot. So not only are we investing in the parking lot and receiving rent for that parking lot, pretty, what I would consider to be market rate-based rent, we're also seeing a conservative estimate, $10 million increase in the value of those structures, which is going to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxable revenue for the city. Plus, it takes two buildings that could continue to deteriorate off of that list. So I know your concerns, but for me, it does what I think it's supposed to do, which is encourage that development.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens down on the riverfront when that hotel wants, what all kind of money we throw up them too. Anyway,
Sorry.
you guys gonna do what you do.
Okay, thanks, Marlon. Anybody else online have anything to add? Hearing none. Council, you have any questions?
No, I appreciate his comments, though.
Okay.
I see what he's saying.
Kathleen, can we vote, please?
Phillips,
Aye.
Kreitzer,
Yes.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
Mopin,
Yes.
Riker.
Yes.
Now we're going to do resolution number, the other resolution, right, Kathleen? Because I didn't do them both. Okay, let me read it.
Okay.
Resolution approving a lease agreement between the City of Burlington and Churchill Lofts LLC for parking spaces in the planned city parking lot at the southwest corner of Valley Street and North Fifth.
Second.
Okay, they're still unmuted. Marlon, this is on this is the other building. Did you have any concerns, or we're at the same spot we were before? You there?
Same deal,
Okay,
same deal.
all right, thank you, sir.
So my question is, they're gonna have the same lease agreement that the other building did then on the lot?
It's all in one.
Yeah, it's waiting for the one building to finish developing. Jim will address it.
Yeah, there are two separate lease agreements, one for each building. They've created separate LLCs for the ownership on each structure. The second structure's lease update is about a year down the road. Instead of a September 1 start date this year, the second building is August 1 of 2021.
Okay. So that
But-
40, whatever thousand.
40,000 is a combination of the two, so,
Okay.
I mean, we won't get 40,000 the first year, but over a 10 and a half or 11-year period, the two 10-year contracts will bring in that 43,000 a year or 430,000 total.
Okay. Any other thoughts or concerns? Kathleen, can we vote, please?
Phillips,
Aye.
Kreitzer,
Yes.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
Mopin,
Yes.
Riker.
Yes.
Okay, we've reached the end of our agenda, so now we'll entertain comments from the audience. Please bear in mind, if it's not on the agenda, we want your thoughts and concerns, but we may not be able to address it. Is there anybody that has something they'd like to bring forward to the council? It's just still the two people? Okay. Is there anybody online that has anything they'd like to discuss with the council? Hearing none. We'll go through and we'll get comments from staff, and then we'll do the city. Eric, anything? Chief Trexel?
No.
Chief Kramer?
I just want to comment, I know there's a lot of things going around on social media. Social media is just what it is, social media. And tomorrow there's an event planned to start in front of our police department and go to the riverfront. I've talked to the organizers, myself and you, the mayor, met with them today, had a good conversation, talked about what they want in regards to that event to be a peaceful event, which is what we want it to be, a peaceful event. So I won't say ground rules because that really isn't the conversation we had. We had a good conversation with the organizers there. They're very nice and genuine people, and we talked about the stances in regards to some of the events leading up to that event. So I will be at the event tomorrow night. Myself and some of my staff will be there. to make sure number one, make sure it's a safe environment for them and everybody that has the freedom to protest and the freedom to be out there having comments. So as we'll make sure that those freedoms exist. And so with that being said, we're aware of some of the comments going around on social media as well as they come into our department. So if anyone has, I guess, credible information, I would be happy to take those calls and we'll move forward. I wish the best for this community, as do the people that are participating in that event. And as a community, we'll stand together.
Well said, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Nick? Jessica? Stephanie? Kathleen? Jim?
You forgot Chief Tracy.
No, I did Chief Trexler.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I got it.
You're just hoping to get rid of me.
No, you just looked like you had something to say, so I figured,
Is it a bedtime story?
It's a bedtime story. First, this week, it's my turn for the radio, so I'll be doing that this week, and you all need to be thinking about where you fit for next week. The events of this last week have been pretty difficult, and I think that we are all asked in government at all levels to be thinking through how we respond to this stuff. I think it's pretty important. I know I spent a lot of time over the last couple of days looking up some different information. I kind of want to go over a tad of it. I won't go over all of it because we'd just be here a long time. One of the groups that I really follow closely is the Colson Center. Chuck Colson was legal attorney for President Nixon back at the time, was the only one from that administration who went to jail. And out of that experience, recognized a need for a change in his perspective on how he dealt with issues, and called for a tremendous change in how all of us do. He put a lot of time into looking for justice reform, and out of that movement, a lot of things have spun off. One of the things that they have is the Colson Center has a group that does Breakpoint. They do a daily commentary, and then they push out a lot of other information as well on an ongoing basis. One of their episodes that was released yesterday, John Stonestreet is the executive director there, on the killing of George Floyd. And I'm going to go over this, and I apologize, it's his writing, which is better than my writing. So, outrage erupted across the country this weekend after video surfaced of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on the neck of George Floyd for nearly 10 minutes. In the horrifying video, Floyd begs for air before bystanders pleading for his life. In the end, Floyd, an African American suspected of no violent crime but of grocery store forgery, died. The 4 police officers involved were fired almost immediately. Chauvin has since been charged with third-degree murder. The FBI opened an investigation, and the Justice Department pledged to make the case a top priority. While in the past, police have often defended fellow officers in similar incidents, this time, as the Washington Post reported, police chiefs across the country denounced the prolonged suffocation of Floyd. Earlier this week, Detroit area pastor Chris Brooks, a friend of the Colson Center, and also actually a former board member, posted a picture of Floyd on Facebook along with a quote attributed to Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a pastor in Germany who went to prison and was eventually killed for protesting the steps being taken by Hitler. Dietrich Bonhoeffer said, "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act." Going back to what John Stonestreet had to say, I admit for the last few days I've struggled to know what should be said and what could be done. We must say first that George Floyd was an image bearer of his Creator. His death is awful, it's tragic, and it should not have happened. Floyd's murder has opened up yet again so many larger, painful cultural issues we face, especially those having to do with race. Also revealed, again and painfully so, is how essential justice is, especially for victims and family members, but also entire communities. Civilizations can sustain many things, but not when perpetual injustices go unaddressed. Still, we must not forget, in the midst of the important discussions we must have, that George Floyd was a real person. Too often, when videos like this one go viral, and God help us and forgive us, there are too many, we automatically run to ideological or political corners, turning victims like George Floyd into a prop for our own positions. The most obvious example is those using this killing to justify looting stores and destroying property. Other examples include resorting to whataboutisms, as if some other unrelated wrong somehow diminishes the evil of this act, or implying that one can only support either the police and law and order or African Americans in justice, as if these are mutually exclusive options. Dichotomies like that are dangerous and disingenuous. We must be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We can support the institution of law enforcement and acknowledge that the terrible injustice that happened here happens too often. We can denounce lawlessness and still listen carefully to our African American neighbors describe their deep pain and disillusionment. We can support a right to protest and still denounce using protests as occasions for evil. Above all, I, a follower of Jesus who happens to be white, can listen. I can indeed, if I am to love my neighbor as Christ commanded I must, care about the suffering of my fellow citizens, especially my brothers and sisters in Christ. The church can lead the culture in addressing this suffering and its root causes, advancing justice and caring for victims. Who else can? We all can. I know that this is sort of a backdrop for where I come from, and how I try to approach what we have to do as a community. We have a delicate balance, and our police department has a delicate balance as we move forward with what happens here, whether there's something tonight, whether something comes up tomorrow night that wasn't planned. We need to be able to work together as people and treat each other with dignity and respect, and still try to do our utmost to protect property. And we will do that. Mistakes have been made in the past. Mistakes will be made in the future. We need to do our best at a local level to try to bring about reconciliation. So,
Agreed.
that's it.
Thank you, Jim. Bill?
Very good, Jim. I have nothing else.
Robert?
If I could, I'm gonna have to look up what I wrote and quote myself here because I don't remember my exact words that I wrote this morning, but, and it's kind of echo what Jim said. I wrote that good and evil do not exist within the pigments in our skin, but within our hearts and actions. May all your actions come from a place of love, and may you never stoop to hatred. If you have a choice, choose love.
Thanks. Matt?
I'm not going to try and add anything to that because I think the two of them have said it well. I would like to remind folks to vote tomorrow, and I hope that cooler heads will prevail, especially through the next couple of weeks. It's turbulent times, so.
Linda?
I echo what everyone once said, and my heart is sad right now, and we are imperfect people in an imperfect world. So ask yourself at the end of this summer, when it's all said and done, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind for your town, for your parents, for your children, and make those positive choices, please.
All right, well, I guess my closing comments would be, we had a difficult year last year with the shootings, and I was amazed by the willingness of citizens to come forward and participate in the violence, anti-violence gatherings, forums, sorry, I was looking for the word. And now, again, we're asking our citizens to, once again, communicate and gather that the vigil support demonstration is, I think, a better word than protest, is for 6 o'clock tomorrow in front of the PD. They're going to say a short prayer. Our former mayor will be leading that. And then they'll walk down to the riverfront and they'll have a couple speakers, and it should be a good event. Let's don't, there's all those rumors, as Chief addressed, on social media. There's always rumors on social media. Please do not repeat those unless you have substantiated those, because all that does is fear and rumor mongering, and it really does not add to anything. So I'm confident, and I think as we all are up here, that on our citizens' ability to gather, reason, and be with one another, and still realize we have work to do. So, and I'm looking forward to seeing people tonight. I would invite everybody to come down and support. If there are these out-of-towners coming, well, let them see a united Burlington community, and that will take care of a lot of stuff. I also echo what Mr. Rinker says. It's time to get out and vote. It's what that flag stands for. People have died for your opportunity to do that. So honor that, especially right after Memorial Day. It's really time to honor that and get out and vote and exercise your rights. If there's nothing else before the council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I gotta have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the
first.
motion. All right, and Robert can second.
Okay. Kathleen, when you're ready.
Phillips,
Aye.
Kreitzer,
Yeah.
Graham Murray,
Yes, please.